I recently came across this gorgeous woven leather pillow at CB2, and today I'm using it as inspo to make my own version using old denim jeans. I love sewing with denim because it is fairly easy to sew with because it is such a stable fabric. I also find that it presses really nicely, so you get that nice crisp seam. I also love wearing denim because it is so comfortable, also washes really nicely. And when it comes to interior decorating, I think that denim brings in that American element. And in my living room, the vibe I'm going for is relaxed elegance. So I feel like bringing in elements of denim into my space not only acknowledge my heritage as an American, but also really helps me achieve that relaxed elegance that I'm going for. So I made Owen this corduroy bed, which he loves, and kind of like a French cushion. And my dining room, the table itself is a bit formal, but I kind of mismatched the chairs so that it would have that relaxed vibe. The ceilings in here are really beautiful as well. Still quite sparse, but I have a little cabinet here. So the sofa really brings in that relaxed vibe. This is actually a quilt that I made with my mom in Seattle. It's a G's Bend quilt pattern. So that's one piece of color already on the sofa. Today, I'm going to be doing this pillow in the denim woven pattern. And I don't know quite what else I'm going to do with the other pillows, but those will be coming at a later time. So for supplies, I have about 6 pairs of old denim jeans. Some are mine, some I got at the market. And I have my large pillow. This one I'm working with is a 50 centimeter by 50 centimeter, which I think is about maybe an 18-inch pillow. And then I have some cording because I am going to do a piped trim around the outer edges. And I also have a zipper, an invisible zipper. So one of the details that I love about this pillow is the back zipper detail is done just slightly down from the seam, which I think is easier to install. And with an invisible zipper, I think it's quite nice. So I'm going to be doing that for the opening of the pillow. So I've gone ahead and done a little mini test sample of my pillow. So I'm going to be moving forward using 2-inch strips of my denim. And I've done my best to get them running straight with the grain. So I'm just kind of following the pattern of the denim and sort of straightening up the leg just a bit so it's not necessarily stretchy, just to try to get the most stability as possible. And then I'm just folding them in half and sewing them down in this kind of crisscross pattern. So the first thing that I'm going to start doing now is cutting out my denim strips. And like the original Crate and Barrel pillow, one of the things I loved is sort of the texture, how the leathers were slightly different shades or different, shades of the color. So I'm going to try to achieve that using multiple colors of my denim. So I've cut 32 2-inch strips from some of my denim. I'm not sure if this is going to be enough or probably not too much, but I'm tired of cutting, so I'm going to take a break to move on to the next step, which is to fold all of the strips in half lengthwise, and then I can start laying them out into the woven pattern, and that'll give me a better indication if I need to cut more strips or not. And yeah, so I'm going to get to pressing. So I have all of my strips pressed in half lengthwise, and I've gone ahead and cut a backing that I'm going to attach all of the strips onto in order to get the woven pattern. So my pillow is 50 centimeters square, which is also 20 inches. So I've cut my scrap piece of fabric 21 inches square, so that way I have 1/2 of an inch seam allowance around all of the edges. And then I've gone ahead and drawn a line right down the center of the scrap fabric. So just right down one of, the center. And then what I'm going to do now is draw in my first V at the very, very top here. So I'm just going to use my ruler. All I'm going to do is just find my angle and just make sure they're the same on either side. And I'm just going to draw in this first V. I'm going down about 1 inch or 1.5 inches from the very top of my fabric. So once I have that first V in, then what I'm going to do is lay out all of my strips. Starting with the first short strips right at the very top, I'm going to line the cut edges with that line that I just drew. And I'm going to place my first one down and then overlap my second piece right over the top, matching the cut edges with the other side of the V. So I'm forming a V pattern. Now that I have my first V pinned in, I'm going to take it to the machine and get it zigzagged onto my base. So I'm going to set my machine for a zigzag, and the width I'm going to have at about a 4.0 and the length at about a 3 or 3.5. And all I'm going to do is just zigzag my V, starting here, pivoting at the corner and working my way back up. So I have my first V sewn in. This is how it looks from the back. You can see a nice, easy zigzag there. I've covered all the raw edges. And now what I'm going to do is take my next strips and I'm going to overlap by about a 1/4 inch so that I cover that zigzag entirely. So I'll just also making sure that my points are always following my middle point, so that my woven pattern continues straight down the center front. So I place my first one and then I'll take my second side and place it right over. Again, just overlapping it about a 1/4 inch there, and then I'll do the same exact zigzag, starting here, make a pivot here and up this side, and I'll continue in the same fashion down the entire length of my pillow. So if you've ever been in the middle of a project and have that feeling that it's just not working out the way you thought, or just maybe you made a couple mistakes and you're not quite happy with what you've got, you can definitely relate with how I feel. So yesterday I was able to get about halfway done on attaching my strips. And I honestly stopped because I got a little frustrated for two things that I think that I'm kind of disappointed, but I don't think at the end of the day it's going to be that big of a deal. But so you can kind of see, because my backing is this peach color, I just thought, oh, it's a backing, you won't be able to see it. But you actually kind of can at certain angles. So I'm a little bummed about that, but I think honestly, once I get it sewn into the pillow, I don't think it's going to be as noticeable. I did just try to go and secure, I just did a line of zigzag kind of around that top there, just to hold them in place. And that does seem to help. You can see these ones are not secured and they're kind of flapping around. So I think that that's not the end of the world, but if I was doing this project over, I definitely would use a matching colored backing to my fabric. The other thing that I'm not happy with due to the backing is it's just too flimsy. And it's also, I'm sewing on the bias. Why didn't I think about this? And so you can see it's been kind of hard to keep it from stretching as I'm attaching the strips. So if I were to do it over again, I would probably use a fusible interfacing, a pretty heavy weight interfacing on my backing, just to make it really stable so that it would be easier to zigzag my strips on. But overall, I think I can save this. I think it's going to be just fine. I think with a good night's sleep, I've woken up with a fresh perspective. So I'm going to keep on sewing, and I'll meet you when I have all the strips sewn on.
Getting stuck in the hurdles, of yesterday. Don't you wanna go further away from the fray? Let's not get stuck in our worries. We'll make our own way.
So I'm so glad I kept at it because I'm really loving the way it's turning out. So I went ahead and zigzagged all of the outer edges and then trimmed away the excess. And I just love the ombre effect that we're getting from the different colors of denim. And I'm not too worried about seeing the pink backing because I think once I get this sewn on and finished, it's gonna wrap tightly enough around the pillow that it's not gonna be flopping open. One minor change I decided to do is I'm not gonna do the piping because what I've realized is it's pretty thick. So each of these are 2 layers, and where they intersect, it's actually 4 layers. So if I were to add another 2 layers of fabric with the piping, plus the backing of the pillow, it's just gonna be too thick of a seam. So I'm omitting the piping, which is fine, but now the decision is what color of a backing should I use for the back of the pillow. So I have this scrap of fabric that I actually had used to make a wrap vest last summer. So that's kind of more of like a tonal look. And then I have this denim that I made a Mercer top out of that I really love. It has kind of a special memory because I got it when I was with my mom. So I could do that for kind of a lighter contrast look. I think I'm leaning towards the dark just because I have enough of this to probably make something else a full maybe top out of. So I think I'm probably going to go with the dark. And so the next step is to attach our invisible zipper. So let's take a closer look at our inspiration pillow again to get a more detailed look at the zipper. So this is one of those details that really stood out to me when I first saw this pillow. That one, it's a beautiful invisible zipper, which I think is a really elegant choice. And second, it's installed not in the seam like you would normally see, but instead just a couple inches down from the seam. So I'm going to do that same placement of my invisible zipper on my fabric. So I've cut out my backing and I cut a strip just a few inches. So I'm going to be putting the zipper here and sandwiching it in between my 2 pieces of fabric. I do have a white invisible zipper because it's the only one I have on hand that's long enough. But you're only going to be able to see the little zipper pull, so I think the white is going to be just fine. So the first thing I'm going to do is open out my zipper, and I'm going to press the coils from the wrong side of the zipper. I'm just going to press the coils flat. Then I'll pop on my zipper foot onto my machine and take a sip of fresh coffee. Next, I'm laying my zipper right side down onto my fabric, so right sides together, and using my zipper foot, I'm getting as close to the coils as possible. And like luck would have it, I ran out of bobbin with just a few inches to go. So I took a quick break to spin a bobbin and have another sip of my fresh coffee. Then I take the other side of my zipper and lay it right side down with my fabric, and then also that side of the zipper as close to the coils as I can get. Then I'm going to open up my zipper just a bit and then lay my fabric right sides together and kind of pull the end of that zipper tail out of my seam. And then I'm just going to sew from the raw edge of the fabric to meeting where I started sewing on the zipper. And voila, we have a really nice invisible zipper. I think if you're new to sewing or new to zippers in general, this is a great place to practice the invisible zipper installation. I'm really happy with the way it turned out. And the last thing to do is sew my front and my back right sides together. And then I'm going to meet you in the living room to show you the final result. So what do you think of the pillow? I know I'm really happy with the way it turned out. I think it's something very different. It's not really something I could ever buy made from my own denim jeans. I really love this invisible zipper install. I think the 3 things that I would do differently next time are, 1, I would obviously choose a backing fabric that is the same color or similar to the top. You can't really see the pink, but every once in a while you can kind of catch a glimpse of it. It's just one of those things. Then the second thing that I would do differently is I would probably do the strips just a bit wider, so that there's a little bit more of an overlap between the strips. It would make the pillow more heavy, but maybe just by another 1/2 of an inch. So cutting the strips at like 3 inches wide instead of 2, I think would really have been a little bit easier, a little bit neater. And the other thing I would do is stabilize my backing to make it a little bit easier to actually attach the strips. But overall, I'm super happy with the way it turned out, and I'm excited to have it as the first. I have 4 more pillows to do, so stay tuned for more, and thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button. It helps me so much as I grow my channel, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Okay, bye.